mitzion tetzei Torah, ודבריו מירושלים. כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. And we say the blessing before coming to the Torah. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch atah haya Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu im kol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah haya noten haTorah.
Amen. And so this week we're reading Bechukotai, and we're also going to read the Torah. Oh, we just lost some folks. What happened? The Torah, Jeremiah, which always has some powerful words. So a few weeks ago we read Kiddushin, in which God tells us that you should be holy as I am holy. And Bechukotai teaches us that if we follow God's path and are holy, then blessings will flow abundantly. But if we don't, and if we fail to pursue God's teachings, then we will face curses and devastation. And Jeremiah really emphasizes what those are going to look like, and they're not very pretty. They also speak about a reassurance that if we return to God, God will be waiting for us. So the questions for us that we'll explore is, what can we glean from this Parsha and Haftorah to help us navigate these incredibly challenging times that we're living in? So we'll start reading the Parsha first, and then we'll go to Jeremiah, and I will jump in with some questions as we go, and then we'll go into, we'll still go into a breakout room even though we're a smaller group today. So if somebody would be willing to read, that would be great.
I will.
Thank
I'll
you.
be willing to read. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant your your rains in their season, so that the earth shall yield its produce and the trees of the field their fruit. Your threshing shall overtake the vintage, and your vintage shall overtake the sowing. You shall eat your fill of bread and dwell securely in your land. I will grant peace in the land, and you shall lie down untroubled by anyone. I will give the land respite from vicious beasts, and no sword shall cross your land. Your army shall give chase to your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall give chase to 100, and 100 of you shall give chase to 10,000. Your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. I will look with favor upon you and make you fertile and multiply you, and I will maintain my covenant with you. You shall eat old grain long stored, and you shall have to clear out the old to make room for the new. I will establish my abode in your midst, and I will not spurn you. I will be ever present in your midst. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, am your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt to be their slaves no more, who broke the bars of your yoke and made you walk erect.
I'm going to jump here, Jacqueline, for a minute so we can focus on the blessings for a little bit first. So if we could go up, Austin, I'd appreciate it, to the beginning again, to line 3. Thank you. So we just read, if you follow this, there's going to be an abundance, right? It's just, so I want to take it apart a little bit, but I'm going to start with this first line. If you follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments. So, and do them faithfully, like if you walk in my statutes and follow my laws and faithfully observe and do my commandments. Asitem is to do or perform them. So the Zohar asks, what does "and you shall do them" mean? Since it already says you shall walk and you shall follow, faithfully observe. So why? What is this part about doing them? Asitem. And so the Zohar asks this question of, does it have to do with the question around that if we do these commandments, there's a part of us that are making God. We are in the process of godding God, let's say. But obviously we don't make God, right? God exists, it's out there beyond us. But if we do these commandments, as Zohar says, then we can actually bring forth a living God within us and bring forth that living God into the world itself. And that brings more holiness and more godlike energy into the universe. It reminds me of Heschel's book, God in Search of Human Beings. It's God in Search of Man, but God in Search of Human Beings. God is looking for us to engage and partner with God to bring more God energy into the universe. And if you think about the Exodus story, God seeks human beings to help make it possible for God's actions of freeing the people, God's intention to free the people, actually actualize in the world itself. So it brings me back to Kedoshim, where it says, right, you shall be holy as I am holy. And this seems to me to be saying that, like, as you embody holiness, I become more holy. I, the divine, become more holy. And you shall then make yourself more holy as well. And it's a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a circular process. And obviously God exists outside of us and is holy whether or not we are engaging. And still the Zohar's grappling with this question of what does it mean to be doing these commandments in the face of following and observing and all these other elements. And so they say we do it because that helps make the world more godlike and bring more God into the world, which I think is just a really beautiful idea. So let's just scroll down a little bit, Austin, if you would. So as we were reading this, your threshing shall overtake the vintage, your vintage shall overtake the sowing, you shall eat your fill and dwell securely in your land. There will be no beasts, there'll be peace in your land, and you won't even have violence or swords. Your army will give chase to enemies, and they shall fall before you. 5 of you shall give chase to 100, and 100 chase to 10,000. And so I was thinking about that, this vision, not to take it literally that 5 people are going to chase 100, but to me it says that the disempowered, the less powerful, the ones who are engaging in acts of holiness, who seem to have not much power, will eventually rise and overcome the forces of evil and oppression that seem to be prevalent and overwhelming and well more than 5. And so that's how I'm reading and looking at that. And you will have favor if you follow my teachings and you embody them and you actually do them. You will have favor. I will look upon you with favor. What an amazing thing! And you will be fertile and multiply. You want to keep going for a moment? Thank you. And so here we go, right? I, the divine, will maintain my covenant with you. It's a commitment. It's a partnership that's being laid out here. And then I will be present. I will establish my abode in your midst. Shekhinah. I will dwell amongst you. I will be with you. I won't be in exile. And you shall be my people. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who freed you and brought you out of Egypt, so you will no longer, you will walk erect. And so there's some discussion about what does it mean to walk erect. Well, when you're enslaved, right, you are oppressed. You have the power of the state, the power of the oppressor on you. You are not standing upright. And so when you're free, you end up walking erect. You stand upright and you gain your dignity back. And in Ezekiel sees God and falls on his face. And God says to Ezekiel, stand up to receive my deployment, if you will. And Ezekiel can only do that when a spirit, a ruach, enters him. And only then is he on his feet so he can stand before God. And God is really calling us to stand up, to take a stand, to not be oppressed and not be bent down and bent over, but to stand erect and proud and take a stand and go forth and do God's bidding. And when I was reading this, it reminded me of this teaching that you should put 1 shekel or 1 penny in one pocket and one in another pocket. And when you grab one, you touch it and you say, ugh, I'm nothing in this world. But then you touch the other one and it says, but the world was just made for me. And it's this balance between humility and audacity. And Victor Hugo in the Miserables expresses the following: there are moments when the soul is on its knees, whatever the position of the body is. In times such as these, this is now me, in times such as these, we can rail against God. When our soul's on its knees, we may be standing erect before God, but maybe we're still crying out like the psalmist to God, or like Jeremiah or the prophets to God, begging and pleading and raging. And here we are told to stand up and stand before the divine and face the divine and take a stand and bring more godlike energy into the world. And then God and us will be in partnership. And when we do that, we will be blessed abundantly. So now we continue. Jacqueline, you want to continue?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, forgot where I left off. But if you do
15,
not obey me,
reject my laws. Well, oh, maybe, yeah, actually, I think you're right, Austin. I think
okay,
it was 14.
okay,
14,
okay.
but do not obey. Thank you,
But if
Austin.
you do not obey me and do not observe all these commandments, if you reject my laws and spurn my rules, so that you do not observe all my commandments and you break my covenant, I in turn will do this to you. I will wreak misery upon you, consumption and fever, which cause the eyes to pine and the body to languish. You shall sow your seed to no purpose, for your enemies shall eat it. I will set my face against you. You shall be rooted by your enemies, and your foes shall dominate you. You shall flee through, though none pursues. And if for all that you do not obey me, I will go on to discipline you sevenfold for your sins. And I will break your proud glory. I will make your skies like iron and your earth like copper, so that your strength shall be spent to no purpose. Your land shall not yield its produce, nor the trees of the land yield their fruit. And if you remain hostile towards me and refuse to obey me, I will go on smiting you sevenfold for your sins. I will loose wild beasts against you, and they shall bereave you of your children and wipe out your cattle. They shall decimate you, and your roads shall be deserted. And if these things fail to discipline you for me, and you remain hostile to me, I too will remain hostile to you. I in turn will smite you sevenfold for your sins. I will bring a sword against you to wreak vengeance for the covenant. And if you withdraw into your cities, I will send pestilence among you, and you shall be delivered into enemy hands. When I break your staff of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in a single oven. They shall dole out your bread by weight, and though you eat, you shall not be satisfied. But if, despite this, you disobey me and remain hostile to me, I will act against you in wrathful hostility. I, for my part, will discipline you sevenfold for your sins. You shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. I will destroy your cult places and cut down your incense stands, and I will heap your carcass upon lifeless fetishes. I will spurn you. I will lay your cities in ruin and make your sanctuaries desolate, and I will not savor your pleasing odors. I will make the land desolate so that your enemies who settle in it shall be appalled by it. And you I will scatter among the nations, and I will unsheath the sword against you. Your land shall become a desolation, and your cities a ruin. Then shall the land make up for its Sabbath years throughout the time that it is desolate, and you are in the land of your enemies. Then shall the land rest and make up for its Sabbath years. Throughout the time that it is desolate, it shall observe the rest that it did not observe in your Sabbath years while you were dwelling upon it. As for those of you who survive, I will cast a faintness into their hearts in the land of their enemies. The sound of a driven leaf shall put them to flight. Fleeing as though from the sword, they shall fall though none pursues. With no one pursuing, they shall stumble over one another as before the sword. You shall not be able to stand your ground before your enemies, but shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. Those of you who survive shall be heartsick in the land, shall be heartsick over their iniquity in the land of your enemies. More, they shall be heartsick over the iniquities of their forebears. And they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their forebears in that they trespassed against me, yea, were hostile to me. When I in turn have been hostile to them and have removed them into the land of their enemies, then at last shall their obdurate heart humble itself, and they shall atone for their iniquity. Then I will remember my covenant with Jacob. I will remember also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham. And I will remember the land, for the land shall be forsaken of them, making up for its Sabbath years by being desolate of them, while they atone for their iniquity, for the abundant reason that they rejected my rules and spurned my laws. Yet, even then, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them or spurn them so as to destroy them, annulling my covenant with them. For I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, am their God. I will remember in their favor the covenant with the ancients, whom I freed from the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations to be their God. I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. These are the laws, rules, and instructions that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh established through Moses on Mount Sinai with the Israelite people. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when any party explicitly vows to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh the equivalent for a human being, the following scale shall apply. If it is a male from 20 to 60 years of age, the equivalent is 50 shekels of silver by the sanctuary weight. If it is a female, the equivalent is 30 shekels. If the age is from 5 years to 20 years, the equivalent is 20 shekels for a male and 10 shekels for a female. If the age is from 1 month to 5 years, the equivalent for a male is 5 shekels of silver, and the equivalent for a female is 3 shekels of silver. If the age is 60 years or over, the equivalent is 15 shekels in the case of a male and 10 shekels for a female. But if one cannot afford the equivalent, the person shall be presented before the priest, and the priest shall make an assessment. The priest shall make the assessment according to what the vower can afford. If the vow concerns any animal that may be brought as an offering to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, any such that may be given to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh shall be holy. One may not exchange or substitute another for it, either good for bad or bad for good. If one does not substitute one animal for another, the thing vowed and its substitute shall both be holy. If the vow concerns any impure animal that may not be brought as an offering to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the animal shall be presented before the priest, and the priest shall assess it. Whether high or low, whatever assessment is set by the priest shall stand. And if one wishes to redeem it, 1/5 must be added to its assessment. If any party consecrates a house to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the priest shall assess it. Whether high or low, as the priest assesses it, so shall it stand. And if the one who has consecrated the house wishes to redeem it, 1/5 must be added to the sum at which it was assessed. Then it shall be returned. If any party consecrates to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh any land holding, its assessment shall be in accordance with its seed requirement. 50 shekels of silver to a homer of barley seed. If the land is consecrated As of the Jubilee year, its assessment stands. But if the land is consecrated after the Jubilee, the priest shall compute the price according to the years that are left until the Jubilee year, and its assessment shall be so reduced. And if the one who consecrated the land wishes to redeem it, 1/5 must be added to the sum at which it was assessed, and it shall be passed back. But if the one who consecrated it does not redeem the land is sold to another party, it shall no longer be redeemable. When it is released in the Jubilee, the land shall be holy to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, as land proscribed. It becomes the priest's holding. If one consecrates to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh land that was purchased, which is not one's landholding, the priest shall compute the proportionate assessment up to the Jubilee year, and the assessment shall be paid as of that day, a sacred donation to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. In the Jubilee year, the land shall revert to the one from whom it was bought, whose holding the land is. All assessments shall be by the sanctuary weight, the shekel being 20 gerahs. A firstling of animals, however, which, as a firstling, is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's, cannot be consecrated by anybody, whether ox or sheep, it is Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's. But if it is of impure animals, it may be ransomed at its assessment, with 1/5 added. If it is not redeemed, it shall be sold at its assessment. But if all that anyone owns, be it human or beast or landholding, nothing that has been prescribed for Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh may be sold or redeemed. Every prescribed thing is totally consecrated to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. No human being who has been prescribed can be ransomed. That person shall be put to death. All titles from the land, whether seed from the ground or fruit from the tree, are Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's. They are holy to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. If any party wishes to redeem any tithes, 1/5 must be added to them. All tithes of the herd or flock, of all that passes under the shepherd's staff, every 10th one shall be holy to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. One must not look out for good as against bad, or make substitution for it. If one does not make substitution for it, then it and its substitute shall both be holy. It cannot be redeemed. These are the commandments that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh gave Moses for the Israelite people on Mount Sinai.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So that's a heavy load to take. That was a big read, Jacqueline. Thank you. It's hard to take that in, and there was so much that stood out to me. You will fall even though none are chasing you. Like, you will so lost your way that you will become again a fallen down people, an oppressed people, even though none are chasing you. It's like back to the opposite of God lifting you up and you standing up and getting erect. Now you're going to be pushed down because of your own missteps, your own errors, your own actions that were so not in alignment with the teachings. And what's amazing about this is the place where we learn that it's not the only place, but it's one of the places that makes it really clear that our right to any land is contingent on us leading ethical lives, both as individuals, but also creating an ethical society. If we fail to do that, we're going to be kicked off wherever we are. We're going to be thrown out of the land because we don't have any actual right to it just in and of itself. We have a commitment to be on land, to be in right relationship, not only with each other and with animals, but with the land itself. And so we've desecrated the land so much, this tells us, that the land is going to take its rest for 7 years, all on its own. It's gonna get its rest finally, and it's gonna get renourished and replenished. And you see that in places, right? Like you see these flowers growing through cracks, or like you see the earth fighting back for its nourishment, for its life force energy, for its divine energy to be uplifted and held in places where, as that great Joni Mitchell song about paving paradise into parking lots and into sidewalks and but yet still, like, I love when I see flowers coming through the cracks, or tree roots coming through the cracks to say, no, this cement stuff is not meant to. We need to lay the land and give it space. And so it's just really this contrast in this parsha is so powerful to me. Like, on one hand, we have this choice, and there's another place in the Torah where you have two different the different tribes on different mountains calling out from their mountaintops to each other the blessings and curses over the vast valley between them, and saying, are you choosing the blessings, or are you choosing the curses? And here we are. This is saying to us, choose life and you will receive blessings. Choose death and you will not receive blessings. You will receive devastation. And it's a harsh divine divine order, if you will. But the Vihayam Shemoah that I did earlier, if you build systems of injustice, the earth will throw you out. And we're seeing that, right? If economic, political, and social systems are unjust, the earth itself, the environmental system of the universe and the planet itself cannot sustain injustice. It's not meant for that. And when in the mornings, every morning I do a gratitude prayer for all the different components of my body. And when I get to my lungs, and I give gratitude for taking in the air and then breathing it out, and it becomes carbon dioxide. The trees breathe it in and they spread it to the other trees and share it, and then it comes out and I breathe it in this endless cycle of giving and receiving. Just imagine if we just built a universe where there was just endless cycle of trusting in the abundance and giving and receiving. We'd actually have these incredible blessings. But we're warned here. And as I look at the world, all over the world, and the choices that we're making, we seem to be leaning toward being cursed and creating desolate lands, and maybe the desolation of our souls, our lack of connection with divine source, that creates desolation in the actual physical reality in which we live itself too. So if there are any, feel free to unmute and share any reflections. We're gonna do a little chant, and okay, go ahead, Jacqueline, please. Jacqueline.
I heard it. As I read this, what really comes at me is how this is used for justification by settlers and Jewish supremacists. Could you say something about that? Just seems so ready-made for them to use as justification.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in the
land is theirs,
Right. The land is ours. It's our land. But then, even in this parsha, it says, no, the land is not yours. Right? Like, it's redeemed to God. It's divine land. And earlier, in a couple weeks ago, we read, like, I think it was in Kedoshim as well, that the land is mine. So, I mean, honestly, right? I'm picking and choosing the parts of the Torah that I want to uplift, and so are they. And they're trying to follow those aspects of the Torah that say this land is ours and we have a right to it no matter what. Now, interestingly, like really Orthodox religious Jews would say we only get this land when the divine gives it to us. Like, we can't have a nation-state army that gets the land for us. So there are, Orthodox religious Jews who stand in opposition to that, who are anti-Zionists explicitly. They have signs. They've stood at pro-Palestinian gatherings. But yeah, they're choosing the parts of Torah that, we would describe as the voice of power over and domination. And that is, I can hold some compassion for that, as I equally hold horror for that, because we're very traumatized people. They were very traumatized people. And they, we want to be a nation like all other nations and believe that's what's going to keep us safe in the world. And I think what our Torah really tells us is what's going to keep us safe in the world is that time when my house is a house for all people, when we embrace and treat all people as loving, as created in the image of the divine, with love and kindness and generosity.
I'll just ask you to speak about one more thing, and that is that uh, for years we have heard that the reason for the Holocaust among ultra the ultra Orthodox reason for the Holocaust and other horrors is that Jews haven't been observant enough, and all they have to do is be more observant to forestall other things like that. Could you talk about that?
Obviously, I don't embrace that theology. I mean, we could have a lot of political, socioeconomic reasons for why we were subjected to the Holocaust, and ultimately it was anti-Semitism, and the treatment of Jews as less than and othering, and so I don't really have any great response to that theological claim that I think is vacant and void of meaning and just creates. I mean, I guess I could say it's an attempt to try to convince Jews that if we just become more Jewish, then we'll be safe in this world. And I also don't believe that. I mean, I do believe that if we embody our, I mean, I guess it's like, what does it mean by safe? What does it mean by to be Jewish in this world? To be Jewish in this world is to build a world that's loving and just and kind and generous. Then we'd all be safe. Then there wouldn't be these power imbalances. There wouldn't be oppression. There wouldn't be great economic gaps. There wouldn't be apartheid. There wouldn't be separation between me and the other. So, but I don't think that's the Jewish that they necessarily mean. But that Jewish, I agree. I don't know if that answered your question adequately, Jacqueline, but there's not, there's not much to say to that theological claim that I don't think has much basis in truth or that I want to uplift. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else want to share?
I had some thoughts on
Whoops, there you go. Now you're unmuted again.
There we go. I had some thoughts about, I thought chapter 27 was interesting in that it's like it describes an economy, and of course it's valuing women as less and over 60 is less, but I think that's because you had an agrarian society that they're evaluating how much physical labor you could do, I guess, or they were. But so it's an interesting. I mean, it looks like the idea was to everybody contributes to the sanctuary, to the temple, and the priests were trustworthy enough to be able to spend it for the community. I thought it was a very interesting description of an economy. Certainly, with a better spirit than we have today, that's for sure. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I mean, the 26 is about what we always, what everybody kind of knows. You have to follow these moral laws to thrive. Right. So anyway, 27 be one I'd be very bored with as a kid, but I gleaned that.
Keep turning the Torah.
As an old person, is worth over 60. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said turn the Torah, and there's always more to find. So you would think that they might place the worth on at least childbearing women greater than men, because you need the offspring in order to keep the society going, in order to work the land. But so there's definitely some patriarchy in that, in our whole Torah. Mm-hmm. And then there was something else you said. Oh, the priests to be trustworthy. Well, it turned out that the priests weren't so trustworthy, as we listened to the prophets railing against the priests, even Jesus overturning the tables in the temple and yelling at the priests. So,
right, and that hasn't changed.
Power corrupts throughout history.
Maybe one day, evolution. Yeah. But yeah, that's the struggle with trying not to be a misanthrope. Okay, I'll be quiet.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Anyone else want to share a thought or a question? Do you want to say something?
The first lines of the Bechukotai that you commented on,
Yeah.
where we are to walk and to
Walk and keep and do.
walk and keep or guard, and then do. And I think I guess you said this already, but the Va'asitem is there are so many uh, who guard the mitzvot and who supposedly walk with the mitzvot, but don't really embody and enact the mitzvot. So the Va'asitem, which means literally to make, I think you said this already. It also means to embody, to truly live your life, and have the mitzvot or the teachings of the mitzvot inform and because if one doesn't embody in ethical living and in the right and correct living, then following the mitzvot means nothing, and walking with mitzvot means nothing. If your life itself is unethical and you do things in the name of the mitzvot that result in unethical and wrong and oppressive type of behavior, then they mean nothing. And that's what the Va'asitem is added on for me,
Yeah.
is to truly make it right. Otherwise, the mitzvot are empty, and divinity isn't enacted. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
Thank you.
sort of what you said.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you saying that reminds me of the prayer we said earlier, and I always bring this line of the prayer that I love. May the beauty of divine power be with us now. May divine beauty guide the work of our hands, and may our handiwork reflect our connection with the divine. So that's also the doing of God's handiwork in this world. We actually have to do it. We can't just talk about it or pray it. Think about gun legislation. Think about all the times there's been these mass shootings, or all these things, horrors that are happening in our world, and we're just going to pray. And prayer has its place, and it's important, and it can ground us and can give us inspiration. And yesterday I was in an action in San Francisco at Padilla's office, Senator Padilla's office here in California, because he's refused to meet with anyone about what's happening in Gaza. And there was an action in LA and San Diego, and there was one in Sacramento earlier this week. And we were praying with our feet, as Abraham Joshua Heschel said. We were raging, we were praying, we were singing, we were dancing, we were painting a mural on the street. We had big puppets. It was quite an interfaith, prayerful action. It was also doing. We were also asking for action to be taken. And so it was really a magical, exquisite day. There were women, mamas with shrouds of wrapped of baby shrouds, like that they carried, and that they then laid down, and we put flowers on them, and each one represented 10,000 Palestinian children that had been killed. And it was so moving, and to have all different faith leaders speak and offer their prayers and ask for help in this time. And also, as I said, we also did it. We asked for a particular action. So yeah, may the work of our hands reflect the handiwork of the divine. And as earlier today we were praying at the awe and wonder and radical amazement of the universe, the beauty of the divine. Right? I have this gorgeous garden here with beautiful plants and flowers and jasmine, and it's just exquisite. And the birds come, and it's just, I sit in the backyard, and there's all these beautiful sounds and birds. My friend said, "Sounds like you're in a bird sanctuary." I said, "Yeah, my backyard, in the middle of a city." It's amazing. So that's if we just looked out at the world and saw and took in the awe and wonder and radical amazement, and this is that beautiful Heschel prayer that's now, it was hanging here, but it fell, and you have to rehang it. But the awe and wonder and radical amazement, if we allow that, this is why our prayers are intended to bring it, I believe anyway, to bring in the awe, wonder, and radical amazement of the world, is so that we take in the awe, wonder, and radical amazement, and it inspires us to then go into the world and do that. do awe, wonder, and radical amazement. Be that being that Ami was talking about. It's empty if we just pray it. We have to also be it. Did you want to, yeah,
So,
please.
today, with reading Bechukotai, we complete the book of Leviticus. And at the conclusion of each book of the Torah, of the 5 books, we say, Chazak, Chazak, v'nit chazek. Let us be strong, and by doing so, let us strengthen each other. What a beautiful phrase. So the melody is very simple. Chazak means strong. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, v'nit chazek. 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 Let us be strong, strong, and strengthen each other. 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 Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, v'nit chazek. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, v'nit chazek.
That made me, what a beautiful chant, thank you. That made me think of when you said, may we be strong and then strengthen each other, that that's what movements for social justice and movements for freedom and liberation are really about. Like we're under the yoke of oppression, and you know, this parsha said, and then God wants you to stand up, stand up and receive divine inspiration and be strong. And what's amazing is as a few people have courage, more people have courage. As a few people feel strong and like, take off, remove that yoke, others are willing to stand up and remove that yoke. And so yeah, may we be strong and strengthened, and may that strength and strengthen one another. We need that at this time. So now we're going to go to Jeremiah, and Ami's going to chant it in English for us. I love hearing Haftarah chanted in English.
Do we have the words?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I can follow here.
16:19, yeah,
Yes.
to 17:14.
Eternal One, my strength and my stronghold, my refuge in time of trouble, nations from the ends of the earth shall come and to you say, our ancestors inherited false gods, empty and utterly useless. How can human beings make gods? They are not gods at all. Therefore I am letting them know, once and for all I will make them know my might and my power, and they shall know that I am called Yud He Vav He. Judah's sin is inscribed with an iron pen, engraved with a diamond point on the tablet of their hearts and the horns of their altars, to remind their children of their altars and sacred poles near leafy trees on the high hills. I will give your wealth, all your treasures, as spoil to a country bumpkin, the Hara'ite, because of the sin of your high places throughout your borders. You yourself will lose the heritage I gave you, and I will make you serve your enemies in a land you do not know, for you have kindled the flame of my wrath to burn a long time. Thus says Yud He Vav He, cursed are those who trust in mortals, making mortal flesh their strength, turning their hearts from the eternal. They shall be like a stunted tree in the desert, never sing when good comes, dwelling in dry places in the wilderness, in a salt land where no one dwells. Blessed are those who trust in Yud Hey Vav Hey, whose trust is in the eternal. They shall be like a tree planted near water, sinking its roots by a water course, never noticing when the heat comes, its leaves green, careless of times of drought, never failing to bear fruit. The human heart is of all things the most deceitful, so perverse, who can understand it? I, Yud Hey Vav Hey, search the heart and test the spirit, giving to all according to their ways, according to the fruit of their doings. Those who gain wealth by unjust means are like a partridge brooding eggs that do not hatch. In the middle of life it will forsake them. At the end they are known to be fools. A throne of glory, exalted from the beginning, is our holy shrine. O hope of Israel, Yud Hey Vav Hey, those who forsake you, you shall be put to shame. Those who turn from you are written in the dust, for they have forsaken the fountain of living waters, Mekor Mayim Chayim, the eternal. Heal me, eternal one, Refa'eni Yud Hey Vav Hey, only then shall I be healed. Save me, only then shall I be saved, for you are my praise.
Thank you. Thank you for chanting that. Beautiful.
Those last few lines are the prayers. Heal me, Yud Hey Vav Hey, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved. Only then, for you are my praise. That's the prayer in the Amidah, the blessing for healing that we say whenever we chant the Amidah, or say the Amidah. Beautiful.
It's actually beautiful. One of the things that stood out for me in this, sorry. One of the things that stood out for me in this is this, it's repeated a couple times, this turning toward mortals, like kings is what they're really talking about here, like rulers and kings, but turning toward mortals for your answers or for your salvation. And of course we're taught to never bow down to mere human beings, but only to the divine source, to the teachings that would bring us blessings. And if you turn toward me, the divine, I will teach you. But if you don't, then here's Jeremiah's visions and versions of these curses that presumably he's seeing in the Galut, in the Exodus, in the after the destruction of the temple. So I will make you a slave to your enemies in a land you have never known, for you've kindled the flame of my wrath. Cursed is the man who trusts in mortals, who makes mere flesh his strength and turns his thoughts, or from his heart, is libo, his heart, from God. If you turn away from God and turn your heart to those with power, to mere mortals, you shall be cursed. Such a powerful. The prophets are so powerful and so meaningful in our times, to listen to their words and take them in our hearts. So I'm going to open it up for a few thoughts, and then we'll go into small breakout rooms, but an opportunity to just share, and I'll give you guys a question to think about. Any questions or reflections from folks right now?
I have a question. From what were you reading, Ami? Because it was so much better than what we were reading.
It was better. It was a better version
I
of
was
it.
reading from the Gunther Plaut commentary on the Torah, the Reform one, and it uses the same translation, but they adapted it a little bit. I'm sorry, I should have used the same one.
No, it was better actually. So,
was?
and I actually thank you for raising that, Jack, because I actually meant to say that and I forgot to say. So in the house we have a bunch of different Tanakh Torah translations, and when there's a bunch of us present in the house, we read different ones, and we sometimes comment on the different translations. But yeah, it was a much more powerful.
It's the Reform movement's version of the Torah.
It was much more.
By Gunther Plaut is the commentator and translator.
And it,
Not the commentator, rather, and the adapting of the translation that was on the screen.
yeah, so it might even be in Safaria, that version, because Safaria interestingly has a lot of different translations available. I don't know, but they have a number of different ones available. So if you ever go onto Safaria, SEFARIA.org, you can. That's how we're sharing it, right? You can do that yourself. You don't have to pay anything. It's all free, and they give you opportunities for different translations. So it's interesting to. Yeah, it was a much better translation.
I thought it was the Cantor's brilliant interpretation.
Yeah, word by word, I interpreted it as I went.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's one line that
I thought what was interesting and somewhat comforting to me was the part about how you can't figure out the perversity of the human heart.
Yeah.
yeah. There was.
That was.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, there's one line there. There was a lot of just backwards. One line that said Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach Ba'Adam. It says Arur HaGever Asher Yiftach Ba'Adam. Accursed is the person who trusts in mortals. But when we say the Birkat HaMazon, the grace after meals, we say Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach Ba Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's the same words. It's just
changed it.
Twisted around. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Yud Hey Vav Hey. And there are a number of those appearing throughout. The rabbis took that and twisted it around and included it in the grace after meal.
We made it into a positive vision.
Yeah, and all the positive, but based on they transformed the curses into blessings, just like Matovu earlier today.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? So we are approaching Shavuot. If there's no other questions, I'm going to jump in. We're approaching Shavuot, and Shavuot is the time when Torah was given, we're told, from Mount Sinai. And of course, we're taught that Torah is continually given. It's continually available to us to receive Torah. And as Shavuot approaches, the divine gates open to access divine inspiration from the sources above. This year, we will not be doing Shavuot, but we'll be sharing with you opportunities for you to participate in Shavuot with other communities online. These gates open with a possibility of receiving a divine download, if you will. It says we just have to be quiet and listen and try to hear. And as I was reading this Parsha and Jeremiah this week and thinking about what I thought might be helpful for us and what we might engage with, I thought about what I want to do is I want to lead us in a guided meditation right now for a couple of minutes, and then we'll sit in silence for a few more minutes. And I want you to imagine it as if you are at that opportunity, perhaps, to hear some divine inspiration being downloaded for you to help you stand up, because all of us have the yoke of oppression on us. We live in an oppressive society, an oppressive world, and even if you have more than others, there's still ways in which our consciousness is oppressed. We can't imagine a transformed world. We believe things maybe that make us feel less than. We all have our traumas that we're untangling still in our lives. And so I'm going to lead us in a guided meditation, and we'll sit in silence and just see if you hear any divine inspiration, maybe some blessings, maybe divine inspirations warning you about some curses if you don't change your ways. What is it that you're needing to receive to, what is it that you're needing to hear to help you actually be and embody God energy in this world and bring it forth? And then after that, you'll have an opportunity to share what you perhaps heard or whatever divine inspiration came to you in what we're going to now call connecting rooms, which I much prefer than calling them breakout rooms. And then we'll come back and share after that. So, and I just want to be really clear that I know sometimes when I'm in a situation like this and they're like, okay, you're going to hear these words, and then I don't hear anything, and I think, what's wrong with me? There is no right or wrong. You don't actually have to hear anything in particular. When you're in your connecting rooms, you can just share from your heart. And whatever is in your heart, you'll just share, and you'll have, 3 to 4 minutes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we'll put 4 people in a room. So you'll have, let's say, 4 minutes a person to share what's in your heart or what divine inspiration you heard. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Heidi already started her meditation. I love it. As soon as I say meditation, Heidi's like, I'm there. I'm going. So feel your feet, feel your body. And I want to invite you to really notice the places where your body's touching your chair or your couch, whatever it is that you're seated on or lying on. And just because it's important to be in touch with our bodies, because we're embodied beings. So feel your feet touching the ground if they are. And then feel your lower legs, your calves, and your shins. And notice your knees and your thighs. Perhaps your thighs are touching a chair or a couch or a bed. Feel that connection, so you really feel your embodied being. You can even perhaps notice the difference of the places where your body's touching something and the connection you feel in the places where your body isn't touching something. Just notice the difference. And if you're leaning back in a chair or a couch or on a bed, you can feel your back touching. Are you slouching? Are you bent over? Just witness. Feel your spine. You can roll your shoulders if you'd like, and your neck. Again, feel the contact between your back and the chair or bed or couch if you're touching it. Feel the support that's behind you, helping you sit upright. Feel your shoulders and your upper arms, your elbows and your lower arms and your hands and your fingers. Even take a moment and just rub your hands together to feel your connection with yourself. And then if you're comfortable, place your hands on your heart for a moment. Offer yourself some love, some nourishment. And then put your hands over your forehead and eyes. Maybe rub your temples for a minute. Just to soften any tightness you might feel. Touch the crown of your head. Just offer yourself some love and some blessing. Now imagine the pores of your being opening crown of your head, your third eye, your heart, your feet and your palms of your hands. Just imagine it actually opening. Divine Source surrounds us at all times. During the weekdays we get so busy we often lose touch and connection with that Divine Source. And on Shabbat we take time and we slow down. Perhaps our second soul joins us and we have an opportunity to tap into Divine Source. And as we approach Shavuot, we even get closer to that divine source of life of all. Feel yourself standing erect, standing upright before Divine Source right now. Whether you're standing or not, just feel yourself saying, I am here. God asks Cain, where are you? He asks Adam, where are you? And say, I am here. You can even say softly or out loud because you're in your own place. Hineni, I am here. I am available. I am open. See what you're yearning for in this moment. Can you offer that yearning out to Divine Source? Say, I'm yearning to hear. I'm yearning to partner. I'm yearning to be present. We'll sit in silence for 3 minutes to just see what, if any, source, 3 or 4 minutes, any divine inspiration offers itself. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a sound, maybe it's your breath. Okay, now we're going to go into break. So, continue.
So we'll say the blessing after concluding our Torah study. Baruch atah Eloheinu ruach haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu
Brucha ya Shechina
notenet haTorah. Amen.